Hello everyone, welcome to ListenABLE, a podcast where we try and normalise disability through the lens of two mates who've been doing a podcast for 4+ years, 150+ guests. And today, I, as always, represent the able-bodied idiot side, the title Dylan has given me for many, many a year.
Are we the mates?
Oh.
Oh, just
Tough
kidding.
start.
We're mates.
Rough start. But today, we are speaking with a guest who was later in life diagnosed with their disability, which is interesting. And in fact, that was diagnosed at the same age I am now. And so, you know.
21.
Thank you so much.
I got you, mate. I got you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to throw it straight over to our guests and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yes, that's my story. And a lot of people sort of talk about, gee, do you wish you kind of found out sooner? But I don't try to focus on that. Like, I just sort of prefer to figure out life as it's happening. And so for me, finding out 37, yes, it definitely changed everything. The way I parent, the way I show up in my marriage. I'm a better friend for that diagnosis sitting in my life now. I understand me better so I can be a better friend, you know, for that. But yeah, it's been an interesting little journey.
You did forget one big part of the introduction.
Yeah.
What's your name?
I'm Cherie.
Hey, Cherie.
Cherie Clonan.
What's going on?
Of
That
course,
is classic me.
Yeah, I was like, you got to say your name first.
True, always.
the founder and CEO of The Digital Picnic, an incredible Melbourne-based marketing and digital agency, which is actually truly not. And we were in the studio about a year ago maybe, and I learned a bit about your business in that space. And what I kind of took away from it was you kind of used the term human-centric workplace culture.
Yep.
Can you explain to us what that means for the disability lens, especially as somebody who identifies as being autistic? What does that mean for you?
It's interesting because I literally just had a team session today on this exactly. So we do a lot on the science of leadership, and today was looking at everything with a humanistic and encouraging lens. And I'm trying to teach this team, in our world, we say go blue. Like, so there's, all different pockets of a particular leadership wheel you can hang out. Red is like your dominant, oppositional, power, kind of ego type stuff. So I hope those words are not any kind of words that people would use to describe me. And so I'm a blue leader. So I just believe in humanistic and, and encouraging, and just, I just always have said, like, there's no accommodation off the table. Like, talk to me, talk to each other, and that's what we do. See everyone for, who they are, what they have the ability to bring, focus on strengths, and we just kind of boycott the lens that they've often arrived to our workplace with before, which is being told that neurodivergency is, just a whole series of deficits. I disagree with that.
I love hearing that. How do you find and attract talent that actually genuinely feel that you aren't just saying that? I know you're not, but like I think for a lot of leaders, they would say, yeah, I'm blue, but no one tells me anything.
Yep.
Right? Which is probably a bit of a red energy.
Yeah, I agree.
How does that go about?
There are signals, green flags, that you can put in just a plethora of different places. And so people spot it before they even sit with an interview, for example. So in a job ad, we might put up when we're hiring, we will put in the job ad, just little moments that look like green flags to neurodivergent folk. And so we'll say, hey, like when you're interviewing with us, we'll give you the questions prior. We don't ever interview based on speed and processing speed. To be really honest, they're some of the worst hires I've ever made anyway. If you can think fast, I'm a little bit worried. It's just a little bit, I've seen sometimes where that goes. And so we call that in the job ad, and so they know that alone gives us just an ability to hit so many more candidates, because we've already conquered one big fear that neurodivergent folk have with their, processing speed. And then in the interview, we just green flag it from the first couple of minutes in. So we'll just say, if there are any questions you want to redo, we will not even take the first answer, so we give them a second go, third, whatever they need. I'm just really not there to be charmed. I actually just want to see what a person genuinely brings, and I want to give them every opportunity to properly bring it and walk out feeling like they bloody nailed it, and so there's just so many green flags you can put in right from before someone even, hits apply. So
obviously, this podcast focuses on lived experience of disability, and we will get to your diagnosis at the age of 37. But I think this is really important as well for, small businesses or people. We have a lot of support workers, care workers in the industry. And I think, your business sense is something that I think is incredible. So I think there's learnings here, as we've already had a few, as we keep going. And what I want to focus on is within your business, you have full financial coverage for autism and ADHD assessments, sensory-friendly office environments, and flexible working conditions. I guess, talking about a small business, we've got staff and hiring, and it's expensive as well when someone takes a sick day.
Yes.
You're talking about a full day of rate gone, etc. And a lot of people and businesses would not see that as a viable working condition because purely it would take away, if it's not profit, just
time,
gross costs and time. So for you, that cost involved, what's the other side of that? Because people would see the negatives of that, which is the money.
Yeah.
What are you gaining on the other side because you have these conditions in place?
I think you just said it. Like I don't see it as an expense. It's an investment. And I'm doing all right. Like I'm almost 11 years into business. 5 of the last 11 have been so freaking hard to be a small business owner, let me tell you. But we are doing really well. And I think it's because we consider everything that a lot of people list as, oh, but what about the expense? I'm like, hey, that's an investment, So I can think of examples where particular team members on my team have moved, like sort of, I hate the word job hop, but if you would look at it on LinkedIn, it would be considered job hopping every 6 months. And it was because they were in workplaces that just didn't understand like their ADHD, interest-led brain, or didn't accommodate for a dyslexic profile in a creative industry, shamed them for grammatical errors where it's like, hey, Grammarly, we got you. It's really not that hard. So apparently the latest statistics say it costs $36,000 to re-employ, like rehire. And so that assessment sort of example that you gave before, that costs between $2,000 to $5,000 per person. I would rather pay that, have someone so deeply understand themselves and therefore the workplace, improve the relationship that they have with their manager. It's a one-off payment and they understand themselves forevermore, And so my job hopper, and I say this in inverted commas, who job hopped every 6 months has been with us for 5 years now. It's the longest she's ever stayed in one workplace. And I know, I'm a pretty humble human, but I know why. I know when I put my head on my pillow at night, I know what's been involved in keeping her with us. So I've probably saved $36,000 just in not having to rehire. I've got a brilliant
minimum
human being.
$36,000.
Minimum.
Yeah, that's one
minimum.
rehire. Could be 2 over 5 years.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So
I think also, if it's okay, Dylan, I know I'm actually putting you on the spot here, but you have some really great stats that I always refer to and love about, working with people with disability. Like,
yeah, of course. Like, it's good. There's a lot more white papers out there these days around disability. It used to be just us people think we're making it up, but, the big consulting firms, including my own one, so like the Deloittes and the PwCs and all that, and mine Get Skilled Access, things like people with disability have lower absenteeism than an able-bodied person on average, of which there's unconscious bias thinks we're disabled, so we're sick, so we're going to not be there. Higher rates of retention, equal to then productivity, things like that. And again, a non-disabled person listening might be like, that is BS, right? But it actually isn't. Only though if it is an environment where people feel included, right? Obviously, it's got to be accessible, say, for someone like me who's a wheelchair user, but inclusive as well.
Yep.
By Mr. or Mrs. Job Hopper, as we'd call them, they probably feel safe in that space, right? And then they want to work harder for you as well. And they want to get out there and do that.
Yeah.
Can I ask, so the organisation is called the Digital Picnic, TDP, we call it TDP?
Yeah.
Melbourne-based digital marketing agency. Did you, when you started it, always know that you wanted to make it a human-centric workplace where people, who are neurodivergent, disability in general, would be welcome? Or did that you fell into that brand messaging as you went along?
No, I definitely didn't start it this way because I didn't even know anything about myself really at that stage. But what I will say is I was raised by an autistic solo parent dad whose middle name has to surely be accommodations. Like he just doesn't know how to not include a person. And look, I don't want to generalize on autism, but we're built to radically include. Like that is a generalized sweeping statement, but I haven't met many autistic folk who it confuses us to exclude. Like it just doesn't literally make sense, So I think, I don't want to give dad all the glory, but, I think I was raised really well. I couldn't recall a time where I've excluded a person. It's not in me. I've definitely been excluded, so I know how it feels, And so I think when I started, whilst not knowing that at the time that I was autistic, I'd say from even the early days, I found different ways to include, a working parent, just whatever it was, there was always a way. And now that I've found that out about myself, well, I just went all in.
So at the top we spoke about 37 years old when you were officially diagnosed. Did you know before and the diagnosis was simply just like getting that sort of labeling, Because if you had a parent who identified as being autistic, you sort of must have known some.
Yeah, it's interesting though because, I didn't grow up with a mum, so I only had a male representation of autism, which just was so different. He's your classic, just every media portrayal of autism is my dad. He retired, lasted 2 days, signed up to the University of Minnesota, Bachelor of Astrophysics. I couldn't think of literally anything worse in my entire life.
I'm with you.
You could not pay me enough.
Astrophysicist, great.
And, he would try to tutor me in maths as a kid and I would just have a literal nervous breakdown at the dining table. I just thought, what's wrong with me? I'm the creative, people-loving, writing, image-taking kind of autistic.
I just love you so right. Yeah, my mate's got autism. Good at maths.
Yeah,
it's just straight away.
Yeah.
Plays cards.
So I was going to say, he's stereotypical, so he's great at blackjack.
So true.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, I was giggling. I was like, that's so funny.
It's just every time we're not all Dustin Hoffman, and
exactly.
so,
it's so ridiculous.
So all I knew, I didn't know that I was autistic and I kept comparing myself to Dad, so I thought, well, I can't surely. I knew growing up the whole time I just felt like an alien though. I did remember just feeling super different, awkward. I could never figure out the easy things that people would figure out. I've got a joke on LinkedIn a couple of days ago. It's ended up going embarrassingly viral, but I talked about a time where I had to meet a client. They were a really big deal. I was so intimidated by them. I had this embarrassing crush on their career. And so autistic, especially women, we social script. We practice before an interaction goes live. So I was sitting at this cafe. I was so nervous and they walked in and prior to that I was like, right, they walk in, you get up, you shake their hand. But at the very last minute they leant in to kiss my cheek, but my brain hadn't caught up. I shook their breast, like their left breast, rigorously. Like the brain would not brain. I was like, no, it was awful, honestly. And the worst part was she didn't acknowledge it. So I couldn't. So I had to sit there for the rest of the meeting thinking, please just ask me to leave. I've literally harassed you.
Or at least bring up, why did you shake my breast?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you sign that client?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you bring it up at a later date?
She wishes me every year. She sends an anniversary of the breast-iversary.
That's great.
So good. The breast-iversary.
So wow. I did know, I was like, this can't be, I guess, like normal. It's not normal to sit there and script things like that. And so I just knew there are some things in this world that were coming so easily to me that I'd be like, what's the problem? Like you just do X, Y, and Z. But then others, I'm like, I'm sitting here figuring out how to freaking shake a hand, so.
Was there a moment, when you did get diagnosed, was it like a weight off your shoulders or was it just kind of like business as usual?
No, huge weight off my shoulder. I just, shoulders plural. It fixed everything, honestly. I think I'm in a good marriage. I love my husband so much. I reckon we would have reached an end without that diagnosis. He couldn't have understood particular things about me. I've married like a raging extrovert. There are just things like it would have got, he would have needed to understand particular things about me in order to keep showing up for me and vice versa. So, massive improvement to the marriage and just my kids as well. I'm a safe person for them because I fully understand me, and so I can understand them too.
Do they identify as being autistic as well?
Yeah,
kids?
Both.
Oh, great.
So contagious.
Yeah.
So
contagious.
I kind of, in that vein, can we talk about that? Your dad, you, now 2 children.
Yeah.
I actually don't even know from
the science behind it.
The science behind it. Is it passed down through generations? Because statistics would say that probably with your case it has to be.
It does. So when my son got diagnosed, he went first and then I was like, okay, yep, that must be Dad. And then the neuropsych at the time said, so look, generally speaking, it doesn't skip a generation. She was generalising there though. And my husband I think he almost broke his neck just looking at me and I was like, can I help you, sir? Is there a problem? And that was the beginning of my journey of self-discovery, I guess. So
your kid got diagnosed first and then you're like, maybe I should go get diagnosed.
Yeah, and I think, look, in hindsight, she was really politely saying, hey, sis.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't pick up
It
on
doesn't
that.
skip a generation. So your father and then you, now your children? Okay.
Yeah.
So some heavy hints.
Yeah.
But equally, there's a chance that if you had another kid or whatever, could not have autism as well.
Absolutely. But Max and Frankie just said, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Nothing, as they bloody should.
Yeah.
Take the best parts of your parents.
It's an interesting one because you weren't officially diagnosed before your children. But how was the experience of raising autistic children make you a better parent? Because in the same way you're a better partner and you've got a better relationship, having those sort of markers, does it help you understand where your children sit and what they need and be a bit more sympathetic or whatever it is?
You know what? So biased here, so call me in and I'll hear you loud and clear. I am biased when I say this, but I would wish being raised by an autistic parent on every kid. We are built to parent well if we understand ourselves. If we don't, that internalized ableism will traumatize a kid for the rest of their freaking lives. I will say that. But when you do the work and you understand yourself so well and, you know, and then, of course, can understand your kids, you are just such a green flag, safe, you know, kind of parent. So I reckon if my kids were here right now, they would be nodding in agreement. And I think it's because we just understand nervous systems really well. So the autistic nervous system is so different. What a neurotypical person would consider to be just not a demand at all, it's a massive demand for us, you know, so it might even be something like a phone call. My voicemail just says, I don't answer, text me. You know, I just don't like it. Like they're mostly telemarketers, honestly, so it's just a waste of my time.
Is that why you've been screening my calls? Cheers. I've been dying to brief you for this chat.
Still doesn't explain why she's not replying to your texts.
True, actually.
Maybe it is you.
I'm rapid on text.
Trouble for me. What about when, I mean, at your workplace, you have a group of people who identify as being autistic. Do you reckon some of the brands run for the hills when they hear that? Or do brands and organizations lean in when they realize that, you know, obviously you're successful, but, you know, want to, I guess, trust that they'll be able to do it?
The wrong brands run for the hills.
Yeah.
I just feel like that DJ from Wedding Singer, and I'm like, you're missing out on something really good here, like the ultimate wedding singer, you know. But most brands get it. Even if they don't get it, they meet us and they're like, so other agencies, you know, they give the comparisons and they're like, your team is so hyper-focused. And they give these compliments and I'm like, neurodivergent. Like they're literally describing typical dyslexic, dyscalculic, ADHD, autistic, and the list goes on, traits, and all of which are evident in people within our workplace. And so what they love about us, even if they don't understand neurodivergency at all, is our neurodivergent approach to creative and strategy.
How do you tackle a workplace birthday?
A workplace birthday?
Yeah. So how do you tackle that? If you've got some people, you know, on the different divergent, I'll get there, neurodivergent, you know, scale, the spectrum. I don't know if people like to use the word spectrum.
Yep.
But, you know, somebody doesn't like loud noises.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Somebody doesn't like flames.
Yep.
Somebody doesn't like the texture of the cake.
I'm thinking you were going down like autistic people hate birthdays. And I was like, I don't think so. To be honest.
Yeah. Oh, it's so neurodivergent, our birthdays. To begin with, hilariously, we've got a birthday leave policy. So you can either opt in or opt out. So you can have the paid day off if you want it, or if you actually want to come to work, we do just a paid gift card instead. So if they've opted in.
I hope every business founder is listening to this.
Oh.
Because that has nothing to do with even being like autistic. That is so cool, by the way.
Yeah,
just so cool.
Birthdays are the best.
Yeah, but like, you know, if you want to come to work, thanks, but here's a gift card to go have a facial or food or whatever you want, you know?
Yep, damn straight. We've got an About Me, so it just lists your particular preferences with a lot, including like a birthday or something like that. Yeah, so that's a good question. Everyone likes
I got there.
Yeah,
I took you on a journey to get there.
Both we looked at each other like, this is going to be on.
Yeah.
Like a good movie, you don't know the ending.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all my good questions.
Love it.
Do you share your experience of growing up as someone who is autistic but undiagnosed with your kids to help them sort of get through their own situation? Or do you parent from the point of, I'm not going to share my lived experience because this is yours at the moment?
It's just, and I know you're not meant to, and I think this is against everything I've seen on TikTok as parenting advice or whatever, but my kids are my friends. Like, I promise there's a line. Like I know where I'm meant to parent and where I'm meant to be the friend, but that's what I as well love about being an autistic parent. We just kind of figure that stuff out. And so, I do share like the experiences. I talk about really classic autistic experiences of, I think most autistic, say gender stereotype here, but girls, we know what it's like when a group of women are standing in a circle and they deliberately put you on the outside of the circle. It is like a rite of passage for an autistic kid, I would say, but especially girls. And that was my whole school experience, just knowing, okay, this is embarrassing. I know that I'm not appreciated in this circle. I just kind of wish they'd probably just say it, so I'll share all of those stories with my kids so that they don't feel like they're going up against something that hasn't happened to a lot of autistic kids before them. And so we just have conversations about whatever, like autistic and like that culture and identity is just something so freely discussed at home, so that they can understand when I'm talking to them. I've probably been through it as well, and it gets better. And I just tell them all the time, school is a goddamn blip. Just graduate, get out on the other side. Your real life starts when that graduation kicks off.
I'd love to go back to school for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'd love that.
It'd be sick.
Yeah, knowing what you know now.
Yes.
It'd be so good.
Yeah.
How old are the kids?
14 and 11.
Oh, so they're right in it at the moment.
Yeah.
Do you think it's easier there's a lot more content around autism and especially ADHD at the moment.
Yep.
Do you think that makes it easier for them or harder, say, compared to you, just say, if you knew you were diagnosed?
Yep. Well, look, easier and harder in some respects. So easier because kids just really do understand what autism is and isn't, seemingly. Harder because then you've got your RFKs popping up with just toxic.
Yeah, that was cooked the other week.
It was just cooked. And so the minute those words came out of his mouth, I just thought, here we go. Like, this will be the next sprint of bullying that we do. Honestly, I just know
We're talking about Robert Kennedy, aren't we?
Yep.
Okay, what did he say? I missed the comment.
It's just
I don't have to spurt around the topic of.
Basically, it's not real. Whatever false conspiracy theory has caused it, it's from. I can't even believe that. That's
the classic, like, this is from a vaccine.
Basically,
but also like if
it
it
ruins
was something
lives.
like if you it ruins lives. Because if you're telling people that they are autistic, you're ruining that autistic person's life by labeling them as autistic. It's like, all right, mate.
It's like, and it was just so like anchored around capitalism. They'll never be able to work. They'll never experience love. And I'm like, I could not love my husband literally anymore. And I'm doing a pretty good job at the working piece as well. But even if I weren't, so what? Are we literally the product of what we can contribute to? I couldn't believe. So moments like that, they're the moments where I'm like, and here we go, bullying, 3, 2, 1, because then the kids will troll,
Speaking of our good friends in the United States of America, they're on a bit of a war path for diversity, inclusion, equity at the moment. DEI is just getting cut everywhere. How does that make diversity, equity and inclusion? How does that make you feel? Are you worried? Are you worried that affects your business because people say I don't need to do that crap anymore in inverted comments? Or where do you sit?
I mean, I'm literally every single week quite literally horrified by, what's being pulled, what will change off the back of that. And just as an organisational leader, I just know what happens when you pull that kind of funding out of a workplace, and the people that I employ are the first people to probably find themselves unable to enter a workplace, for just a variety of different reasons, most of which are just so bloody simple, such easy accommodations. We overthink too much of this. Some of the things that the biggest impacts you can make have come off the back of the smallest accommodations I've made, where I'm like, what, like, really? I'm worried. In terms of our workplace, I don't know, maybe I was thinking a little bit like that, but then I would say, just the timing of this being recorded, it seems like Australia just went, I've seen what I've needed to see and I'm a little bit worried, and so they made whatever decisions they've made over the, weekend, and that just gives me a little bit of a vote of confidence that we might just be a little bit better.
Nice. We are recording this just after the weekend of the election, of course.
Great political answer.
Yes, I like that. I like the vote of confidence as well.
Tell me I didn't say it then. That was
vote of confidence. Bowl of uncomfortable, Cherie. This is where we get asked questions in this case, or we can ask questions that might feel uncomfortable asking them, but in the hope that it breaks down a stigma for future conversations for other people out there. Dylan, you're up first.
I got 2. One's from Dylan in the studio. That's me.
That's you.
You reckon anyone's ever lied to you about having ADHD or autism get a job?
No, because it's such a vulnerable thing to literally share, and I don't think so. I think they might be on the path of like the discovery path, and sometimes it might be ADHD mixed with autism, something like that. Never lied.
So just wondering.
Yeah. Good question.
Now people are going to.
Yeah, Dylan's resume not going to your inbox.
Yeah, now people are going to do that, and I'm sorry for putting that out in the world. All right, this is from Mia through our email system. Do you have an example of clients being ableist towards your company, and did you feel like it was your responsibility to educate them?
We are so lucky. I've never gone up against ableism from clients. I have actually been, I've gone up against ableism from my own employees in the past.
Hit us up. What's that about? What do you mean?
I think
As in the disabled ones or the non?
Me. Oh, so they were neurotypical.
They were neurotypical?
Yeah.
So the neurotypicals against the neurodivergent community. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. More so not towards each other, just actually me. So I don't know what it is about a neurotypical's fascination with infantilizing an autistic woman, especially maybe, or we do present, like I would say honestly, and again, I know I'm generalizing here, but younger, I know, I'm looking at my friends, I'm watching as all age and I'm like, why have I still got a stuffed caterpillar on my pillow at night? Like I just feel like I'm not aging quite the same way.
Yeah.
His name is Lots of Legs.
Lots of legs is fantastic.
I'll send you a photo.
Brilliant. Yes,
That needs to go up on the clip.
To be fair, it was the first gift my dad got me when he won custody.
Beautiful.
It
That
means
makes
a lot,
sense.
you know, but I am just aging differently. So we come across a little bit more childlike, you know, and so unfortunately it means that we can get infantilized, like, don't talk in this meeting, Cherie, you don't add value, don't do this, don't do X, Y, and Z, and just speaking over and eventually making me completely invisible in my own company. So that was a really rough couple
Just
of years.
remind them that I am your boss and
I
you
know.
will. Yeah.
I'm just really anti-hierarchy and that's another autistic flex. I'm just not about, and I probably need to flex that a bit more. So, yeah.
Especially if it's, but I'm all about blues, not reds.
Yeah.
However, when it's,
Not in the political scheme, not necessarily. but-
No, bad choice of colours at the moment.
but when it's in terms of them being ableist towards you, thinking that they are better than you, have every right to stand up
I
for
know.
yourself and say
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and look, I
Not that
do
you need my
eventually.
permission
I
to
do.
do it, but
Yeah,
please,
thank you. No,
I'll come in and
I do.
smash some skulls.
I've got a bit of a slow processing speed with it where I'm like, hang on, did I just catch
Did that just happen?
Did
Yeah.
that, you know, and
I do that as well sometimes because I'm very, very,
Yes.
very lucky
Yes.
like you are,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. We don't cop it very much.
No.
Because we are privileged and, you know, we can go to
Same.
great jobs and we can do
Yeah.
good stuff. And then when it happens, I'm like, 5 minutes, I'm like, that was cool.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Just very quick. I was playing golf with my brother and one of my best mates yesterday, and I'm on the golf course with a golf club, and I'm wearing a golf club, and this dude walks past and he goes, "So you're obviously not playing. You're just out here just getting some fresh air."
God.
And I was like, "No, I'm playing." And then I was like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I've got
What a weird swipe.
What? You know what I mean?
Literally a cart bike.
But
Probably
you know what I mean?
playing
But I was
better
just-
than
and then
you.
He walked up and we were just like, that was weird.
It's just
and then
a
I was
case
like,
of did
but
that just
again,
happen? Yeah.
He didn't mean it. Like he wasn't being
I
mean,
know.
but he actually has that
It's even
internalized
worse.
ableism accidentally because he was a nice guy, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But I didn't click at first. And we all just sat there in silence. My brother and I would like, after about a minute, we're like, God, that was pretty able. That was
Yeah,
weird,
I know.
wasn't it?
I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about. Yes.
I also think I've seen an example of exactly that in a friend of both of ours who's been a guest on this podcast before and described autism in the most incredible, descriptive, most powerful way
Oh, wow.
that we still get referenced about how
Yep.
important it was. Her history of autism is just like straight out of a book. She's incredible.
Yeah.
But she does get infantilized. She speaks with a higher voice. And
Yeah.
at Ability Fest as well, somebody came and like crouched next to her and was like, "Do you want a drink?"
Oh God, I've had this
And I
happen to me
remember
too.
watching that and I was just like, "Oh
sucks.
gosh,
Yeah.
yeah."
Yeah, absolutely. I've had my hand, like if I've been paid to speak at an event, I'm sitting there, I'm just literally minding my own business, and then someone's come up and grabbed my hand and pulled me like a little child
Yeah.
and spoken really slow, and I'm just like, I'm embarrassed for you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you're
Yeah.
just thinking, if only you knew how much I was getting paid to be here.
Literally.
My question is a quick one.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful question, actually. I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't have permission, but they sent this in through
Okay.
their parent.
Yeah.
I'm a 9-year-old autistic person. I love and obsessed with dogs, and I know every breed by looking at them. Over 260 so far. Mum says it's my superpower. What's yours?
The same.
Dogs.
Dog
Dog
breeds?
breeds.
Are you kidding?
I'm not
Did
joking.
you send that in?
It's me from the
Yeah,
past.
yeah.
Little Cherie coming
way.
through.
I've got 9-year-old
yeah.
Cherie on the
Yeah.
emails. Yeah.
You know all dog breeds?
Every breed.
Whoa.
And it frustrates me when my husband gets home because we live next to a river in Yarraville.
Yeah.
And he comes home and he's like, I saw this dog. And I'm like, oh, what breed? And he's like, I have literally got no idea. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, why would you not at least take a photo? I think Yep, it's a
There you go.
skill.
We should connect you both. That's actually cool.
Yeah,
Az.
let's
Is
connect.
that-
I want to
Yeah,
meet
for
this
that?
kid.
Beautiful.
I am.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Lovely.
You're a weapon. So you do speaking as well?
Yeah.
Book Cherie. Thank you very
thank
much.
At
you.
Cherie Clonan, of course, and at the Digital Picnic, and the links are all below in the show notes. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for inviting me.
And you know what? I wanted to hear more about you, but I've just got to mention you are immaculately dressed.
Yeah,
How
it
good
is
is your kit and glasses that you have on? I hate it when people leave with like, God, you dress well, because I want to hear more about you first. But I've just been dying to tell you.
Yeah, the kids are always on
thank
point.
you.
Right. How good are those glasses?
Yeah.
I was sad because over the holidays I had got.
Should we describe
Are we
them?
still?
We describe what you wear for people who obviously
Okay.
can't.
Well, it's not Gucci.
Okay.
It's just hearts and prints and buttons,
Like
and
a
there's even
power set, and
sequins.
You've got
Yep.
white glasses on with
I
like
do.
see-through
Yep. So
frames at the front. Very
Yeah, I
cool.
just have absolutely terrible vision, and found out over the summer holidays it's got even worse. And so got out at the end, and they're like, "All right, so pick your glasses. There's this whole wall." I'm excited, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, your vision is so bad, you get one line." And
Nice.
I'm like, "Oh, well, I'm going to make it good."
Yeah,
So I
that's a
picked
good
these.
line. That's a great.
That's
Yeah.
actually so funny. So you're in the super
Yeah,
really bad eye section, which just got 4 pairs.
Yeah.
it really was.
Well,
probably-
usually that would be a pretty dodgy,
Yeah.
an artful piece,
Yeah.
but you got a nice selection.
I was like, I'm going to make this good. I'm going to own this. If this is my line, then, I'll make it good.
Done.
Well, Cherie, thank you so
Thanks
much.
for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.